Jagdish Kumar, Vice Chancellor of the Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Rana Pratap Singh, Pro Vice Chancellor, members of the Swami Vivekananda Commemoration Committee, esteemed faculty members, dear students and friends. I feel honored to be here at this prestigious university to speak on the occasion of 158th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. The institution has played a seminal role in academics, research, and public affairs. Two of our senior-most cabinet ministers today, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman and Dr. Jaishankar, are the products of this university, and the country is proud of their contribution. I feel especially privileged as today's function happens to be the first Swami Vivekananda Youth Festival being organized by the university. Friends, Swamiji was a revolutionary young monk who rekindled the hopes and recharged the spirit of India at a time when the common Indian was exhausted, felt hopeless, and had lost faith and confidence in himself and his destiny. His self-esteem and sense of dignity stood at its lowest ebb. It is rare that we attribute the term revolutionary to a spiritual man. Faith systems glorify the past and are hence traditionalists. Revolutionaries, on the other hand, want change, and that too at a fast pace. The meanings suggested by them also are often in conflict with the norms and ethos of their times. Swamiji challenged prevalent norms of religion, social practices, and individuals' self-perception. When in Lahore, he exhorted his countrymen that all, and let me quote, vain gods vanish from your minds, unquote. And he said that Mother India is the only God. He was trying to awaken the dormant spirit of India, which was in deep slumber. It is only a revolutionary monk like him who could say, and I quote, kick out the priests who are always against progress, because they would never mend their ways and their heart would never become big. And end quote. And yes, he was a great Hindu missionary who was first to make the world realize the high spiritual content and exalted glory of Hinduism. He enthralled the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893 with his historic address, and the world started looking at Hinduism with a new perspective, with a new respect. His passion for the country impelled him to shake the conscience of every Indian. He asked them, do you love your country? And if yes, then come, let us struggle for higher and better things. Look not back, not even if you see your dearest and nearest cry. Only a man of his spiritual stature, indomitable will, passion for the country, and love for humanity could achieve what he did. He made multitude of Indians believe in themselves and take responsibility of their destiny that ultimately led to India's independence from a tyrant colonial rule. Let us try to understand the age and times in which he was propagating his message both within the country and outside. The British colonial power was at its pinnacle. The country was politically subjugated, economically impoverished, socially fragmented, and psychologically people had been stunned to silence. Major portion of the country had been usurped by the British through deceit, deception, and make Indians fight each other. Rest of India was controlled by the princelings of British tyrant fiefdom and oppressive feudals. Let me give you an example. In 1757, in the Battle of Plassey, British defeated Siraj-ud-Dawla. By 1764, after the Treaty of Buxar, the Company Raj extended to whole of Bengal. Then started the loot, plunder, and oppression of farmers, compounded by the famines in which the company insisted on collective land revenues through most tyrant means. Within 5 years of the company rule, a famine ensued that Amrita Sen calls the man-made famine by the British. No famine of this magnitude had been seen by India in its living memory. Can you guess how many people died in that famine? 1 crore Indians, 5 times of what COVID-19 has killed all across the world. If COVID-19 continues for next 5 years and people die at the same rate, probably it will equal to the number of people killed. Can you imagine the pain and agony of the society, 30% of whom had died of starvation and could not utter a word about it due to fear? But this was the lesser tragedy. The bigger tragedy was that degraded Indian society had accepted it as a norm. They had reconciled to a destiny where they felt it cannot be changed. They were left with no courage to collectively raise their voice against it. Poverty, want, and hunger even forced many to join what was called the native armies and police forces to suppress their own countrymen. I do not know how many of you in JNU have heard the name of Bharatendu Harishchandra. He is the acknowledged father of modern Hindi literature. He too died young at the age of 35. In 1880, he authored the first Hindi drama in prose, named Bharat Durdasha, The Misery of India, in which he lamented the pathetic state of the country. But what is painful is the way he concluded it. That is the most touching part. He said, रोएं सब मिलके आओ भारत भाई, हाय भारत दुर्दशा अब देखी न जाई. He calls the countrymen to come and weep together, as the misery of India cannot be tolerated anymore. This was the reality of the time of Swami Vivekananda. A meek submission to evil. Friends, In life it matters what happens to you. But what matters more is how you respond to it. What was happening to India was distressing. But what had happened to its patriotic zeal, to its self-confidence, to its lofty spirit was pathetic. Swami Vivekananda is unique because he realized it. As a young man with no resources and few supporters, he plunged himself in the battleground to awaken the sleeping India. It is in this backdrop that Swami Vivekananda India gave the clarion call, and I quote, "Arise, awake, and stop, not until the goal is reached," unquote. The state of being was intolerable and unacceptable to him. He derived his energy from India's spiritual past and its strength. He exhorted the people, strength is life, weakness is death. Friends, the struggle of life is all about converting the state of being into a state of becoming. That is changing the present, the existing ones, to your aspirational levels. Those who are able to do it are successful, and those who fail to are the losers. Let me tell you a very interesting anecdote of my life. Nearly 50 years back, I was posted in the Northeast. At that time, there were few roads, and one went from one place to another, walking through thick forests, hills, and water streams. I was in my mid-20s, and I might have been slightly older than most of you here. When I came to Delhi, I was asked to call on one Mr. Ananthachari, a very bright IPS officer from Madhya Pradesh, who later became DG BSF. He was then an assistant director, many years senior to me, and staff officer to legendary Sri K.F. Rustamji, then Director General of the Border Security Force. After I briefed him about the situation on Indo-Bangladesh border, where BSF was deployed, he told me to wait for a minute. He left the room and returned in a few minutes, asking me to come along to meet Mr. Rustamji, as he liked to meet young officers working in the field.